Hey, Bill here from Restoring Christine. Christine is our 56 Bel Air. I've been restoring this car for about 3 years. I've got this channel set up to document the build, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today I'm going to talk about restoring Bill. I had an inguinal hernia repair 2 weeks ago, and I want to go over it and share my experience with the hopes that maybe it'll benefit somebody out there who's going through it and is about to experience a surgery, or maybe doesn't quite know what to expect. So my hope, just like my channel, as I'm showing you how I restore this car, is to just be helpful and to impart some knowledge. So I'm no expert in the matter. Of course, I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. This is intended to just be a simple recounting of my experience and what I've gone through and how I got to this point, and what my experience maybe will help you. Maybe you can figure out or know what to expect if your experience is similar. So that said, let me go back to a couple years ago. A couple years ago, I experienced, or I started to see what was basically a protrusion at the bottom of my abdomen, and it's basically down here in the nether region, just where your abdomen comes down just above the fold of your leg. So where the nape of your leg is, right there, right above that, that's an inguinal hernia location. So it could be on both sides of your pubic bone. And what it is, it's a tear. It's a tear in the outer wall, such that the interior is allowed to start poking out. So you see it like a bulge in your skin. So you might see, it might look like a thumb starting to protrude. It's actually a little disconcerting when you see it, but that's basically what that is. It's an internal rupture that is now starting to allow part of your internals to balloon outward under your skin. So in my instance, I go to the doctor every year and get a regular medical checkup. So I go to see my regular practitioner and I say, "Doc, look, hey, what do you make of this? I think I have a hernia." And he goes, "Yeah, it looks like you do." So the way that worked out is, once he saw that and he recognized that, he referred me to a specialist. So I went to go see a surgeon that was in the same system as what my regular practitioner is in. So he referred me. I made an appointment with that specialist, and that specialist met with me, and he took a look at it and he says, "Yes, you have an inguinal hernia. It looks like you've got it on the right side. It looks like the left side maybe is starting. We don't know." So he had me. The exam took all of like 10 or 15 minutes. And after, of course, the nurse is taking blood pressure and everything else they normally do, he looks at it and he puts his hand on it and he asked me to turn and cough, and he does both sides. And I guess he's feeling for pressure. He's feeling for something to indicate that there's there's no seal in the abdomen. The abdomen has a rupture, basically, has some sort of a hernia. So he looks to me and he says, "You know, are you feeling any pain?" And the truth of the matter is that I wasn't really feeling any pain. I said, "Well, you know, every now and then I get a little bit of a dull ache when I walk, but I'm just conscious of it. You know, I'm aware of it, and it's like it's really weird that you've got this thing protruding and you can put your finger on it and push it back in, and then 5 minutes later, bloop, there it comes back again." So it was just unusual and strange, and I just didn't want to risk causing any more damage. Really, that's all it was. So it wasn't really bothering me. It wasn't really hurting. That went on for about a year and a half, and then after about a year and a half or so, I noticed that the protrusion on my right side started to get bigger. It was getting continuously bigger, and then it started to show up also on the left side. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, it's definitely not getting any better. It's not staying the same, but I'm not yet feeling any pain. Well, a couple months ago, I went to, 1 month ago. 1 month ago, I went to an event, a festival, wooden boat festival, and I built a wooden boat that's only 11 feet long, and it's built like a Chris Craft runabout, and it's got a 1958 Johnson outboard in the back of it. I'll show you a picture of it. Anyway, we showed this boat at this wooden boat festival, and ended up winning an award. It was the Captain's Choice Award. So all the other entrants that were in, it was basically like the choice of all the other entrants, that it was their favorite for all the boats that were on trailers. So I was very proud of that. But the whole day long, I'm sitting there standing there talking to people. I'm feeling my abdomen really hurting, and I didn't want to leave. I couldn't leave. The boat was there, and I was there, and people were coming in and asking questions. So forever being the people pleaser. I was standing around and entertaining as best I could and answering questions about the boat, but the longer the day went on, the more I started really feeling this, and it was really hurting. So by the end of the day, they shut the festival down, and I picked the boat up and we towed it home, and I told my wife, I said, man, it's really hurting. This is unusual. It was still a dull ache, but I was like, it's not hurt like this before. I was aware of it, but not with this ache. So I said, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an appointment and go see the specialist again. So I did that. I went in and fortunately, I was surprised. Normally appointments are 6 weeks out. Well, this appointment was only 2 days out. So I was able to go see the doctor. That was on a Sunday. I was able to go see him on a Tuesday. And he takes a look at it, and he had his records, and he says, yeah, it's definitely bigger. It's getting worse. What do you want to do? Because he offered the first time when I went to go see it, he says, you're kind of on the fence, 50-50. Now he's looking at me and he's saying, well, before you were 50-50, and now you're saying you got pain. So you're probably over the fence. You probably should intervene and do something. I said, okay, what's involved with that? He goes, well, it's an outpatient procedure. Okay. What does that mean? It means that, well, you're going to show up in the morning, and then it's going to be a couple of hours of prep work, and then another hour or two under the knife, and then when you come to, then we'll dismiss you the same day. Say, okay, well, we can plan on doing that. So we made an appointment for, I want to say it was 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, we were going to do surgery. And it was on the calendar, we booked it, and that was 2 weeks ago today that we had the surgery. So now, leading up to surgery day, they required me to go have a pre-op visit with anesthesia. So the procedure that I had to do this repair was going to be laparoscopic. They were going to have 3 incisions, 1, 2, 3, starting from the navel, and then about 1.5 inches down and 1.5 inches below that. 1, 2, 3. 3 incisions, tiny incisions, and they were going to go in laparoscopically and repair it with what they called a mesh. The surgeon said that the mesh was going to be pinned to my abdomen muscle, and then eventually the abdomen muscles were going to scar over and adhere the mesh to the over the injury, and it was going to be permanently patched, permanently repaired. Okay, so this laparoscopic procedure still requires general anesthesia. They asked me, had I had general anesthesia before? No, I've had anesthesia twice. Once to have wisdom teeth removed. I said, well, that's not general anesthesia. They just made you loopy. Okay. And the second time was for a colonoscopy. And I'm like, well, that one, I was like asleep for 3 hours. And they said, that's still not general anesthesia. Okay, well, I'm no anesthesia expert. So what's the difference? Well, with this anesthesia, they really knock you completely out. I mean, I have zero recollection. They intubate. So that's part of the procedures. They intubate. They insert a tube into your windpipe. And they also give you a catheter so that you can discharge or relieve yourself. You don't have to, I guess, I don't know if you lose control or what. But anyway, they insert a catheter, and then they also intubate through the throat. Well, now I'm getting apprehensive. He's explaining this to me. So I'm going to my pre-ops, and in my pre-op meeting with anesthesia, they said, this was days before the procedure, and they had to clear me, so they're asking all the questions about, are you allergic to this? Are you allergic to that? Have you ever fallen down? Do you get headaches? Do you snore? Snoring is a big one. Apparently, the anesthesia is concerned about snoring. Apnea. Apnea is one of the things that they kept grilling me on. But they made sure they checked blood pressure. They checked my vital statistics. They ordered blood work. They ordered special blood work just for anesthesia. So I had blood work done for the procedure. I had blood work done for anesthesia separately, different panels. So I was getting poked and prodded and stabbed. And then the last thing that they had to do, so anesthesia is the one that explained to me, we're going to give you a catheter, and you're going to be intubated, and you're going to be completely out. You're not going to remember anything. So, okay, well, I like that. But then they also asked me collectively to get general clearance from my general practitioner. So I had to get a medical sign-off from my general practitioner saying, yeah, Bill's good to go to be operated on, which not a problem, but again, it required yet another appointment. So I had the appointment with the surgeon, the appointment with anesthesia, and the appointment with my general practitioner, all within the 2-week window prior to the surgery. Okay, so the day of the surgery, they told me 2 things. They said, one, like I'm on the gremlin diet. You can't eat anything after midnight. No water. No, they said clear. You could have clear water up to 2 hours before you come to the hospital. So I was not able to eat anything prior to following midnight the night before. So I had to fast, and they say that's because they don't want you to get ill or sick. You might get nauseous through the anesthesia. I'm not quite sure, but they said after midnight, nothing solid. And then they said after midnight, only water. So in the morning, I drank a bit of water leading up to when we went to the hospital. I had the procedure done. And but outside of that, they said bathe or shower the night before with Hibiclens. Hibiclens is medical soap. So basically, wash your entire body and get rid of all of your germs and your biological organisms. Get rid of those, okay? And then they said, and in the morning, lather, rinse, repeat. Do it again. So I did it again in the morning. And they also said, no sauces, no scents, no smellies, no nothing. So come in, don't put on any deodorant, don't put on any aftershave, don't put on any cologne, no hand lotion, no face cream, no sunscreen, no nothing. So okay. So I had the Hibiclens shower the night before, the Hibiclens shower the day of. And now they're like, you need to make sure that you have transportation to and from, because they will not let you, you're not going to be able to drive afterwards. So the day of the procedure, my wife brings me to the hospital, and we go through check-in, and check-in was very fast. I went and sat me down in the waiting area, and I filled out one last piece of paper. And then when they brought me in the back, they brought me in what I've been affectionately calling pit stall. So they put me in a pit stall, and they basically said, all right, strip down completely naked and put on this robe, the gown, the hospital gown that has, the vanity back, so you can show off your backside, So they had me put that on and take all my clothes, put all my clothes in bags that were going to be secure, and they put that off in a locker. They said that I could keep my reading glasses and my phone. Okay, so I can entertain myself, or at least keep texting with my spousal unit, who was now not at the hospital any longer, because I was going to be there for like 4 hours. So this is 9:30 in the morning. We checked in. About an hour and a half, I'm in the pit stall, and they inserted an IV. So that's just the tap, just the IV tap. They wired me up. They had me with electrodes or just different wires and connections up and down my torso. They might have put on the blood pressure strap around my arm. They had the blood oxygen thing going, so I had my pulse rate and I had my blood pressure being monitored while I'm in the pit stall. And then they came in and they said, all right, look, do you, we're about ready to bring you back, which I was scheduled. I was told to show up at 9:30, which I did. And they said, and you're going to go back at about 11 o'clock. And that's exactly what happened. Like by 11:05, nurse comes in and she says, all right, we're going to start giving you some medicine now to get you ready. She didn't tell me it was like something to knock me out. But I was sitting there and she goes, all right, I'm going to start giving you some medicine. And that's the last thing I remember is her reaching for it. I don't even remember her touching it, putting it in, nothing. The next thing I remember is, I don't know, 3 hours later? I think it was 2 or 3 hours later, I remember just the voice of my wife standing next to me. They had texted her and told her that I was now coming out of the procedure. So she had time to come from wherever she was, come back to the hospital, park, come inside, and come bedside, and I'm just finally coming to. I'm hearing her voice, and she's getting all the post-op instruction from the nurses. So I was groggy and coming to, and they told me, well, as soon as you urinate, you can go home. Okay, so I wasn't able to get dressed yet. I still had the vanity gown on, with the reveal in the back, and I still had the IV tap, but nothing was really connected to me. So the blood pressure was still being monitored, and every time it came back, I could read it. But then the nurse says, look, if you can go, you let me know when you're ready to go try. So we did, and it's like getting up that first time, getting up out of the bed and putting my feet in the ground. Believe me, I did not have my sea legs. I was like really woozy. So she was holding me up, and we walked, I don't know, maybe 25 yards to the nearest bathroom. And she said, I'm gonna have to come in with you. So okay. So she comes in with me, and like the Blair Witch Project, she turns her back in the corner and she's facing the corner while I'm standing there trying to make something happen. And I can recognize, it's like, look, I even told her, I said, yeah, I had a catheter. I'm pretty sure I'm barren. I am dry. And so she accepts that I'm not going to be able to do anything in that moment. And we go back to the bed, go back to the pit stall, and she gets the doc on the phone, and the doc says, go ahead and give him an ultrasound scan. And so she did that and determined that, sure enough, my bladder was empty. So he ordered, give him a liter of fluid. So I'm sitting there, they reconnect, the IV tap was already there, but they tapped into it, and they mainlined in some fluids. And then I'm sitting there and I'm slamming all the juice and ice that they'll give to me. I'm like, well, we're gonna go. So after, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, and now I'm less woozy. I'm less now, and so I was able to go. And this time it was like, floodgates opened up. Here we go. Okay, great. And then she's like, as soon as we did that, she's walking me back to the bed. She goes, just Mr. Thomassie, get your clothes, and we're going to remove the IV and get you dressed, and you're free to go. Like, great. Okay, so we do, and she asked me, do you want the wheelchair? And I'm like, you betcha, because I was still wobbly. So they wheeled me out to the back of the hospital, and my wife had pulled a car around, and I told her, I said, I was warned by my general practitioner who already had this procedure. He's like, dude, I didn't even make it home before I had to go again, and we had to like wobble me into the Applebee's to go again. I'm like, yeah, okay, duly noted. Well, sure enough, I get in the seat of the car, and we only live 15 minutes from the hospital. And I tell my wife, I'm like, you might want to hurry up and get home, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to go again. Sure enough, we were in the middle of a major boulevard and stopped at a red light, and I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm about to wet my pants. And I opened up the passenger door, stumbled out. I still got the bracelets on that have my name, rank, and serial number all on it. I'm stumbling around. I get into the back seat now, and it's a wonder I didn't collapse and fall in front of traffic that was at the red light. But I get in the back seat, and then I ended up having to relieve myself in a cup on the way home. That might be too TMI, but I mean, hey, I'm just trying to keep it real. This is what happened. So we get back home, and now let's talk about recovery. So they gave me three tablets for pain medicine. They gave me Tramadol. They offered me Oxy, whatever, and I'm like, nope, you can keep it. If it's got Oxy anything in its name, I don't want it. So they gave me the Tramadol, and they only gave me 3 tablets, which was fine. And they said, well, the best thing for you to do really is, like, instead of this pain medication, you really want to take something that reduces swelling, which is like Tylenol and Advil and Aleve. So I was taking that in rotation. They suggested that I do that in rotation. So that's what I was doing, is every so often I would take 3 Tylenol or 3 Aleve or 4 Advil or whatever it was. And for the first for that night, I was fine. So I got home, I was able to sleep. I didn't have any trouble sleeping, but I woke up extra early, and I think that was because I was under anesthesia for so long. So I slept until about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, then I had to get up. But then the next day, I realized it's like, well, I went to like move. All of this was super tight, and it was just, I was in pain. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It was tolerable, but I didn't want to move. Where the pain was, you'd think I had 3 incisions, so 1, 2, 3, and I had the 2 hernias down here. And I thought the patch was going to be on top of where the hernias were. Well, I found out today that, oh no, there's a big old patch that goes all the way on this side, and there's a patch that goes all the way on this side. So he put in two big, huge patches, he said. So if it was hurting everywhere, I said, yeah, it was hurting everywhere. It was hurting throughout. Tolerable, but it was definitely hurting. And he says that's because of, and he explains to me what it was. It was very large patches. Okay, I have no idea how he fished them in there. I have no idea how he flattened them out, but that's what surgeons get paid to do, I guess. So, all right, day one, I'm on the sofa all day long. And let me tell you, they tell you to wear loose clothes at the hospital. Wear loose clothes. You don't want anything with an elastic band, anything with a belt. You don't want anything that's gonna rub in this area right here, because that's the tender region. So for the next week or 2 weeks now, if I could go commando, I was going commando. And if I was wearing warm-ups, I had them either pulled way the hell up, or I had them riding really, really low. So you want to stay away from that. It's very, very sensitive. I thought I was going to recover quicker. I thought I was going to be up in my feet a lot sooner. But one of the things that you don't realize, that at least it didn't strike me as much until it happened, was that even just the act of doing what I'm doing right now, standing upright, requires your abdomen to just be taut. And time, it's only got a limited amount of time that it can stay taut before all of that really starts hurting. So I would get up even to go to the bathroom. Getting up and down was a challenge. And I would go stand at the microwave or something, or go to the fridge and go get something, or fix myself something to drink. And I was walking an old man. I couldn't stand upright. I couldn't stand vertical, because it was just too tender to stand tight. So again, I was still able to sleep. I was able to sit on a sofa. I could sit for hours on end. I just couldn't stand for a long period of time. So that the procedure was Thursday. Friday, I felt about the same. Saturday, felt a little bit better. Sunday, a little bit better still. I could tell when I was waking up. It's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to come out of it. Monday, a little bit better still. Tuesday, so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I had what felt like a setback. I woke up that day feeling as bad as I felt Saturday 3 days prior. And it continued all through the day. I had this dull ache all over. I had pains that were coming from the incision areas every now and then. And I think what was happening is the nerves were kind of firing off, and they were coming back. So that was a very uncomfortable day. About 5 days later, it was very uncomfortable. So I went up, and then I went back down, and I was like, what's going on? Hopefully this isn't a setback, a real setback. But then the day following, I woke up feeling better than I had on any day prior. And it's been steadily up ever since. I wasn't able to drive for a full week. And I didn't try. I didn't want to try. One of the things that you got to be concerned about is, even with driving, is that things happen suddenly and you got to react. So you might have to quickly move your foot from the gas to the brake. You might have to press hard. You might have to jerk the wheel or something, or maybe you got to twist and look a certain way. Let me tell you, none of that movement, your abdomen wants no part of it. So driving for me was clear out. I didn't drive for a week. The first time I did drive was 7 days later. Was on a Thursday. I went back into the office. I went to work for a little bit just to meet up with everybody and to touch base. And we had a luncheon for the holidays. We had a luncheon. And I did that, and I tell you, my stamina only allowed me to be in that office for about an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. And I wanted to be back on my sofa, not because I was homesick or didn't want to be at work. It was just because, whoa, man, there's just things. It's you'd wince every now and then, and people ask you, hey, you okay? And I just didn't want that attention. And if I was going to be hurting, I want to be able to hurt on my own terms, so you're going to be out at work. If you had this procedure, I would expect to be out of work at least a week, at least. Now, the second week was better, and it was improving. So by the second weekend, I think, so you had Thursday, then another Thursday, then by that weekend, I felt good enough to get back in the garage a little bit, and I was sweeping, and I could go for about an hour or so before I went and sat down on the sofa for a little bit. But all I was doing was just piddling, small stuff. If you have a job where you've got to lift heavy weights, where you got to move things, you got to wear a tool belt, or you have to have, anything around your waist, forget it. Forget it. I mean, your waist does not want anything to do with a belt, a waistband, elastic waistband. I mean, as it is now, I'm still wearing my elastic waistband rolled down a little bit, and I'm 2 weeks out. So there's that. What else can I say? So one thing I think I forgot to mention is like going to the bathroom. So though they required me to urinate before I left the hospital, going to the bathroom was another thing entirely. Believe me, if you use your abdomen muscles, it's during that little exercise. And for me, I after 2 days, so Thursday and then Friday, by Friday evening, nothing happening, I went ahead and I took some Dulcolax. I took 3 and said, all right, we'll see what happens. So the next morning, I tried to go and everything seemed to be okay, but it was like free flowing. And it did that for the whole morning. And then after that, things got regular. So by day 3, 3.5, I was on my regularly scheduled program, which was good. Told that to the doctor. He said, that's a little unusual. He says, usually that's a struggle. So it wasn't a struggle for me. Might be for you, might not. So, all right. So now I'm 2 weeks in to my recovery. I had my follow-up today with the doctor. And the doctor, he went in and they used surgical tape, some sort of tape to cover the 3 incisions. He told me to shower with that on and that he would remove them unless they fell off. And sure enough, only one that was kind of like folded on itself peeled off about a week ago, and the rest of them have all stayed put. And so he had to peel them off today. There's no stitches to be removed because all the stitches are internal and they're going to dissolve. That's his procedure. Might not be yours, but that was mine. I looked at the incisions today and they're like super tiny. So scarring, he said to expect that there'll be some little knots there, and I guess it's normal for scar tissue, but he said expect that. Outside of that, he thought everything else is fine. He did tell me now after 2 weeks I can start doing things. If I wanted to do exercising again, if I wanted to go back and walk the dogs, I can go walk the dogs. If I wanted to get back on a treadmill or an elliptical or things like that, he says, but just listen to your body. Listen to your body. So what I'm feeling now is probably equivalent, 2 weeks later, is probably the equivalent of what I felt at the Boat Fest. So it should be getting better from here. So every step beyond this is going to be better. But I have noticed that visually, I can look, and I look in the mirror, and I can look down and see that the hernias are no longer there. I did have bloating and swelling. This was all inflamed. It looked like I was 15 pounds heavier than I really am, and that lasted for a while. And it's slowly going down, all that inflammation. But there's that. I did notice that even though I was inflamed, when I did go to put regular clothes back on, my waist seemed to be its normal size. So, okay. But I have been trying to take it easy with waistbands and whatnot. That's probably one of the biggest things is like, if whatever your work is, you're not going to be able to dress the part like you would normally dress the part. You're going to be held back a little bit because of what your waist is willing to tolerate. But, so okay, here we are 2 weeks later now. It's a holiday weekend, and I've got extra rest here that I'll be able to do, but I'm going to get back to work on Christine. I'm going to continue working on this car. So, look, everything leading up to this has been all about the hernia, but I'm getting better. Now, from here on out, we're going to start working. I'm going to resume working on Christine. I'm going to start doing some more videos, getting my videos coming out there. And if you're interested in continuing following my journey, I'd love and appreciate a subscription from you. If you're enjoying this video or if this video has been informative to you, please give it a thumbs up. And I think that's going to be it for me now. So until I see you next time, please take care of yourself. I'll see you on the flip side. Cheers.